Hi, I'm Kent Culbertson with American AVK. Today we've got John Martin here. He's the Vice President of Sales and Marketing. John's been very instrumental in helping AVK grow, and we're fortunate to have him on the team. And so, John, how long have you been with American AVK?
Well, Ken, I started with AVK January 5th, 1995. So this coming January will be my 30th year with AVK.
That's incredible. So we've been blessed to have him on the team. So prior to being at AVK, you worked for various distributors and manufacturers. Tell us a little bit about who it was and kind of how you got here, and how you got into this industry.
Okay, and that's a great question, Ken. I always like to tell people my background. So I've been in Waterworks for 50 years, okay? So I started, my wife and I moved to Jackson, Mississippi, and I went to work for a company called General Electric Supply Company, and I was a delivery driver. So I delivered electrical supplies to, contractors and projects and jobs. And one day I was making a delivery to a new warehouse being built, and it was from a company called Davis Meter and Supply Company. And if you're familiar with them, that's who Core & Main is now today. They were out of Thomasville, Georgia. And so I was over there making a delivery, and I'd made quite a few deliveries there as the project went along. And I happened to meet the branch manager, and I was talking to him and asking him about what they did and everything. And he explained to me that they were in the waterworks business, and at that time Davis Meter actually did meter repairs, meter rebuilding. Mm-hmm. So and the second question I asked him was, do you guys have a delivery truck? And he says no. And I said, are you hiring? Because I did not like delivering, because it wasn't a good job. It was a lot of work. So I actually got hired, and when I got hired with them, I started in the warehouse. And from the warehouse, I moved into counter sales, outside counter or warehouse counter sales. And then I moved into inside sales, which included quotations, takeoffs, and purchasing. From then, I moved into the branch manager position. And then I actually went into outside sales. Mm-hmm. So I worked from them from 1974 to 1980, total of 6 years. And it was a really great company, really enjoyed working for them. At that time, there were three brothers, which was Rudolph Davis, Jasper Davis, and Claude Davis. Mm-hmm. And they were a real good company. They were, I think they were a public company at then, but they were still kind of run like a private company. And it was a good company to work for, and I learned a lot. And so from then, I moved on. I actually wanted to get out of Mississippi and move west. I had a friend that moved out to Colorado, and he loved it. And so we moved to Colorado, and I went to work for a company called Mountain States Pipe and Supply. Mm-hmm. And I started working for them, and I did waterworks sales, industrial sales, things. Actually worked, if you're familiar with Colorado Springs, it's a big military city, has the Air Force Academy, Peterson Air Force Base, and Fort Carson Army Base. So I did a lot of sales to the military installations. Mm-hmm. And I worked for them for 5 years and enjoyed working for that company. And I was actually offered a job to go to work as a territory manager for Smith Blair. Yeah. And at that time, the position was in the Pacific Northwest. So I moved to California, and I covered the Pacific Northwest, including Alaska and BC, Canada, and did a 5-year stint with them. And then after that, I actually kind of was trying to get off the road a little bit, because that was a lot of travel. I had 7 states and a lot of travel. So I was offered an opportunity to open up a waterworks branch of Consolidated Pipe and Supply out of Portland, Oregon, and Boise, Idaho. So I took that position and worked for them for 5 years. I kind of did all these 5-year stints. I was kind of on a roll for 5 years. And then after that, I worked for them. And then our current president and good friend, Al Jerkonis, called me one day and told me about AVK. and he wasn't working for AVK at that time, but he was on the board, and he actually told me about the job. So I told him I was very interested, and then I met with Niels Kerr, who's the owner, CEO of AVK, and I became took the position of Western Regional Sales Manager for American AVK, and that was in January 1995.
Yeah. And so if you ever get a chance to talk to John, he'll be at the AWWA ACE this year in Anaheim. To say that he did not like Jackson, Mississippi and wanted to move to Colorado is probably an understatement, and you may not want to tell the whole story, but he actually bought a Mazda pickup back in the day, loaded up everything that you owned that you could fit in the pickup, and moved to Colorado without the job in hand at that point, right? You just relocated and looked for a job.
Yes, but Kent, I did have $5,000 cash, and I didn't know anybody anything, so I was ready to go. And the funny story is, if you think about today, my wife and I figured that we could live almost a year on the $5,000 if I couldn't find a job. So
Yeah.
you think about how things have changed today, because we had an apartment, and that apartment was $150 a month. We had our little boy, our son Wes Martin, who actually works for us at AVK,
Yep.
and he was 3 years old at the time. So a lot of changes.
But I've
you know?
always admired, the confidence to load up a truck and move across
Yeah.
country like that. That's pretty phenomenal. So during this period of his career, one of the things you've developed's been a really interesting analogy about being able to pick 2 or 3 variables if you're a customer and trying to buy a manufactured product. So can you talk to us a little bit about that in terms of what customers should expect when they're buying any manufactured product?
Well, what I've always looked at, Kent, is there's 3 things I think everybody ought to look at buying anything, whether it's for your business, your personal use, or anything. And what I always break that down to is you have quality, you have service, and you have price. And one thing that I learned working for AVK, because we came into a very competitive market, we're the small company in the group, and I would always tell our customers, I said, okay, you can have quality, service, and price. You get to pick 2 of them.
Yeah.
And it was always interesting because, I break it down because they'd always kind of look at you a little crazy, and I'd go, what do you want, quality and service, and price doesn't matter?
Yeah.
Do you want quality and price and service doesn't matter, or do you want service and price and quality doesn't matter?
Yeah.
Well, the issue is everybody wants all 3.
Yeah.
And the one thing I've always said, that AVK is a company that can offer you all 3, but the price is not going to be the lowest price in the market. We're going to offer you a competitive price, we're going to offer you the best quality product, and we're going to offer you the best service in the industry.
Yep. And so it's been a pleasure to work with you in that context. I think it's always refreshing to have somebody that's that focused on the quality and the service. And as an example, just a few years ago, you personally loaded up a utility trailer with indicator posts and hauled them behind your truck from Minden, Nevada here at the factory all the way to Canada to help keep a project on schedule. And can you explain, that whole process, why you did it, and then basically the response from the customer when the vice president of the company shows up personally pulling a trailer?
Well, what happened, Kent, is we had a large project with a distributor up in, it's called Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada, which is about 450 miles north of Edmonton, which is probably, I'm going to say, 1,500 miles from Minden, Nevada. Yeah. So we were doing a project for this customers up there called the tar sands, which they actually can get oil from the tar sands, and that's a big project up there. We were doing it. So we got a call on, I'm going to say, late Thursday. We had been furnishing the project, and they realized that they forgot the indicator post for this project because it's a large project, and this was a fire main going around the project.
Sure.
And so they called us on Thursday, and they said, we forgot these posts, and we need to have these on the job. They have to be there Monday morning by noon.
Yeah.
Well, so I got with, at that time, our customer service manager, and we were able to build the post. The problem is we could not find a driver on such short notice, a trucking company that could deliver up there. And so we were trying to figure something out, what could we do, all that. So I said, hey, you know what, if you have them ready Saturday morning, I'll throw them on my trailer. I've got a little 5 by 8 foot trailer that I could tow behind my truck. I'll throw them on my trailer, and I'll take them up there. Well, come to find out that, I have a passport, but you're not allowed in Canada to bring in commercial materials. So I got with the distributor, and what he agreed to do is he was going to have his truck meet me at the Canadian border. So what I did is I left at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning, had to drive approximately 1,200 miles. I had to be there by noon Sunday.
Yeah.
And I met him in a little town called Sunburst, Montana. Mm-hmm. And so that was quite a haul. It was, one of those, I left and spent the night in Idaho Falls, Idaho, and then got up early in the morning, left about 6 o'clock, and then got up to Sunburst. Met the driver, we transferred the load, and then he took it, and he had it on the job site around 10 o'clock Monday morning. Mm-hmm. But it was very, very important because they had to have the post because they were installing the valves. If you're familiar with, post indicator valves, you have to have the post on them before you could bury the lines. So the customer was very happy, and we do exclusively almost all the projects up there with this customer now. Yep. And I think it helped a lot. And it wasn't just me, it was the whole team effort here.
Yeah, which is for sure, I think that's one of the good things, and John's installed that or instilled it in everybody, and that's to have that kind of service to the end user, and it's greatly appreciated. So one of the things you've done, John, over the years is you've kind of oversaw the exhibits we have at national conferences and some of the state conferences. One of the things you kind of helped create was called the Bubba Tester, and can you kind of tell everybody kind of what the Bubba Tester is and how it came about?
So, Kent, when I first started working for AVK, and this is back pre 9/11, mm-hmm. So I used to always carry a 6-inch stainless steel stem in my bag. That was, what I carried in my bag, and I showed it to all my customers. So
gate valve stem.
Yeah, gate valve stem. Yes, our stainless steel gate valve stem, and I took it and I showed it to all our customers. So one of the first things I'd do is when I met a customer, after I introduced myself, talked to them a little bit, I'd always ask them the first thing. I said, "Do you ever break stems in your gate valves?" And of course they'd go, "Oh yeah, we break them all the time. I mean, we spend a lot of time replacing stems." And then I'd hand them that 6-inch stainless steel stem, and I'd go, "Here's a stem you'll never break."
Yeah.
And so, I went along and I did that, and I continue to do that. But, it's kind of like you're telling them this, but, in the back of their mind, they're going, you don't know my guys. I got guys that can break anything. I got 4 guys over here that just broke an anvil yesterday,
Right.
And so I got with our engineer, Mr. John Wilbur, and we discussed it, and we said, hey, if there's a way we could come up with a device that we can actually have the guys torque on it and really get on it. So he actually put together the Bubba machine, and excellent machine that he put together. We had it actually registers the torque, and it has a 6-inch gate valve on it. And the customers get on there, has a T-handle, just like guys would be in the field, like they're going to open and close a gate valve. And so we would say, you can't break our stem. Well, to make it more interesting, I got with Al Draconis, and I said, Al, you know what we need to do? I said, if we really want to make this interesting, why don't we say we'll give anyone that could break our stem, we'll give them a Harley Davidson motorcycle.
Yeah.
Well, that was like the craziest thing in the world because everybody wants a Harley Davidson motorcycle. Yeah. And, of course, the first guy that was going to do it, he thought he was going to walk away with a Harley.
Yeah.
And the first couple shows, and Kent, you were involved in some of those, we actually had a Harley in the booth.
Sure.
So, yeah. We'd go get with a local Harley dealer, and he let us put a Harley in the booth, and everybody was going to win a Harley. Well, I'm going to say, Kent, we've probably been doing that over 15 years.
Oh yeah.
Never gave away a Harley.
Nope.
And and we still have them. And the interesting thing is, people ask me why we call it the Bubba machine, and the reason we do is we were at a show in Hot Spring, Arkansas. You were there, and there was a young fella there that his nickname was Bubba. And big fella. I mean, this guy was probably 6'4", 6'5", over 300 pounds. And they actually recruited him to come break the stem.
Yeah.
And to my recollection, I think he got pretty close to 900 foot-pounds of torque.
Yeah.
And that's today the highest torque that's ever been put on that. So we just gave it the name, the Bubba machine.
Yeah.
And but it's been fun. We still have it. We still do it occasionally. But the main thing is it proved is you can't break her stem.
Yeah, and by far, once John put that out in the market, and we don't do it as often anymore for one reason, because people, once they have done it, they see it the next year and they don't necessarily want to get
Yep.
on it again.
Yep, exactly.
So I appreciate all that feedback, John. And lastly, as Vice President of Sales and Marketing, you've been very instrumental in helping everybody that works for you in the sales department, and then also customer service, and you work with production, all the other departments. What motivates you every day to come in here and just basically help all the AVK teammates you have grow the business?
Well, I think the main thing, Kent, that I've learned from working for AVK is, how to truly become successful, because as you know, AVK, working for AVK and selling the products, it's a lot of obstacles that we've been against.
Yeah.
And you have to change a lot of minds, a lot of mindsets out there. And so one of the things I always, try to emphasize was how can you be successful working for AVK?
Yeah.
And so we always try to push that. I also pushed it, you need to be proud that you work for AVK, because AVK is a great company. They take care of their employees. We make a quality product. We have great service. And like I said, our quality is great. And to be honest with you, we have the best product in the industry.
Yep.
And one of the things that I always tell everybody too, when we're out there doing sales, we by far have the best warranty in the industry. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that in the 30 years that I've worked for AVK and everybody out there, we've actually brought the industry up to a higher standard of quality in products.
Yep, I would agree. John, again, thanks for everything you do for all of us.
Well, thank you,
Appreciate you
Ken.
doing this today. And that's it. Thanks for everybody watching.